start off with a couple of things. First, I was proud and honored to be part of the Trump administration, where I can unequivocally say, after 40 years of service, serving both Republicans and Democrat, I was part of an administration that achieved the most secure border in our lifetime. And the facts just prove that out. That's not me, and that's not hyperbolic, it's just the truth. The other thing I want to do, sometimes I forget because I get so passionate about this issue, is I want to make sure that what I'm going to talk to you about in the first few minutes, don't mistake what I'm going to be talking to you about with respect to it being immigration. Because what's happening at our borders, the chaos and lawlessness at our borders, has nothing to do with immigration, right? But the Democrats, the liberal media in this administration, that's what they want you to believe, right? Because if they make it about immigration and you're against what's happening at our border, right? Follow the bouncing ball, then you're against immigration. If you're against immigration, you're against brown people. If you're against brown people, you're a racist, right? That's the narrative, and it's BS. Don't buy into it. Don't be put in a corner at your cocktail party. Stand strong and call them out on the BS, because it's not true. And so I want to make sure that everything that I'm going to talk about the next few minutes, I want to be very clear on this. I am for legal immigration. All right? I'm for someone that's going to respect our sovereignty as a nation. I'm for someone that's going to respect the rule of law. I'm for someone that their first act of entering this United States isn't to lie to federal law enforcement officers to gain access, right? So keep that in mind. Could we show the chart? Do we have a chart available?
Is there a chart available?
Yeah, hopefully.
Well, keep talking, Lindsay.
Okay, that's all right. It's just a key part of my presentation. So the chart that I'm hoping will come up is that the first assassination attempt on President Trump and Butler. You guys remember there's been a lot of talk about how the last second he turned his head to the chart, right? I was going to hopefully show you the chart of which he actually looked at. That saved his life and was really divine intervention. Oh, there it is. All right, Julia, thank you. So that is the chart. By the way, Senator Johnson and his staff is the one that created this chart. So you're looking at the very chart that, in my opinion, saved the president's life. All right? And again, I think it's divine intervention. I think the next day or two, I sent Senator Johnson a text that said, "Hey, dude, you actually saved the president." You got a kick out of that. So when you look at this chart, you look to the right. That's the Biden-Harris administration. Okay, there's a couple of things that this chart represents. One is there's no way that you could do something that resulted in that without it being intentional. Okay? So I promise you the chaos and lawlessness at our borders impacting every aspect of our economy, public safety, and national security, which I'll get into, was done by design. It wasn't done out of incompetence. It wasn't by accident. Those numbers achieved by intentional efforts. And let me give you a couple examples. Even before they took over, and then once they did, I remember during the transition, as it happens anytime there's a transition in administration, DHS, Department of Homeland Security, we gave the Biden-Harris administration over 200 briefings. The overwhelming majority of those briefings were on the border security. And we told them, if you do what you say you were going to do on the campaign, if you're going to end the network of tools and authorities and policies that we implemented in the Trump administration to serve the most secure border in our lifetime, you're going to create a degree of chaos and lawlessness that we've never seen before. They ignored us. 100%. They ignored our warnings, they ignored our data, and they ignored the career Border Patrol experts that were saying, don't do this, or that's what's going to happen. They ignored it all. I recall, in fact, in October of 2020, right before the election, I was on the border. I was still the Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection, and I said, quote, now I remember this because there was a Hatch Act violation that was filed. By the way, it was unsubstantiated. But so I'm standing there, and I was asked by a gaggle of reporters, and they said, Mark, so they're talking about the Biden campaign, what he's going to do. He's going to stop building the wall, give everybody free health care. He's going to end the Remain in Mexico program, et cetera, et cetera. And I said, if any White House does what the Biden campaign says they're going to do, they're going to create an invasion at our border. I said that in October of 2020, so I want credit because I'm the first one that said it, okay? Just a side note. But oh man, did I get hell. Oh my gosh. And now that's exactly what we have, and everybody's using that term right now because that's exactly what's happening. Again, so think about this. This we have to be honest. So President Biden, Vice President Harris, the past 3.5 years, they did exactly what they said they were going to do on the campaign, right? When it came to the border. They kept their promises to undo, dismantle, and disrupt the network of tools and authorities we had in place to create the worst border security crisis in our lifetime. But that's what they told us we were going to do, just nobody was listening. But they did it. In the first couple of months of this administration, they issued 93 executive orders, which started to dismantle all the tools and authorities we had in place. One of them was the asylum cooperative agreements, or we call them safe third countries, that we had with all 3 Northern Triangle countries. It eliminated forum shopping, and most importantly, what it did was it applied the international standard that if you actually had a valid asylum claim, meaning you were fleeing your home country because you were being persecuted because of your involvement in a protected class, you do need help, you do need relief, but you should get it in the first country that you come to. You shouldn't then put your lives in the hands of the cartels to travel another 3,000 miles to get to our border. But that's what was happening. The Safe Third Country Agreement stopped that. Biden ended them. The other thing, and I mentioned before, the Remain in Mexico program. This program single-handedly stopped catch and release, meaning families, because of bad law, is that was your automatic passport in the United States. You go, you come here as a family, real or not, you're being released in the United States. We had no choice. That was part of catch and release. That's why we saw this incredibly massive influx of families in 2019. We instituted the Remain in Mexico program. Shocker, because we weren't releasing them in the country anymore, they stopped coming. First day, Biden-Harris administration into the Remain in Mexico program and reinstated catch and release. The wall. Yep, we all know. On day one, he said, remember, Biden, the campaign supported by Vice President Harris, said on day one, I will not build, quote, another foot of wall. And he didn't. 270,000 tons of prefabricated steel are on our southwest border right now, wasting away. But more importantly, it wasn't just about steel and concrete not going in the ground. What we were building, I was there, I was proud of this, we were building a wall system. It was steel, concrete, access roads, state-of-the-art technology, lighting, the list goes on and on. Not only did we give the Border Patrol an essential tool, part of their multi-layer strategy of infrastructure, technology, and personnel to more effectively defend, secure our borders and stop drugs, criminals, national security threats from coming in, but that also allowed them to do that job more safely. This administration ended it on day one. They gutted ICE's ability to actually do their job to remove criminal illegal aliens from this job, restricted them. You have to be a known or suspected terrorist or convicted violent felon before you're even going to be on the radar for ICE to remove you. In addition to that, they have fully supported rather than condemn and stop sanctuary cities. We know the deaths, we've heard them all, the names, right? Rachel Moore and Laken Riley, double failure. We've encountered the people, but we released them anyway. And then after we released them in the United States, they committed another crime in the United States, but sanctuary cities released them just so they could go rape savagely and kill these women. And I could go on, I could talk to you for the next 10 hours and give you example after example of the violent, horrific crimes that are being committed by illegal aliens that one we encountered or two a sanctuary city encountered after another crime, but released them into the streets anyway. David Lee, Officer David Lee, right here in St. Louis. Killed, doing his job. And everything you read about him, he was one hell of a man, one hell of a cop, one hell of a public servant. In fact, how he got killed, he responded to a traffic accident and was helping out the victims of a traffic accident when an illegal alien drunk driving 70 miles an hour ran into him, pinning him between the car. Officer died. What?
At 8 a.m.
8 a.m. The officer died on the operating table, right? Pretty bad, huh? Oh, it gets worse. That illegal alien, he was already on probation for assaulting his girlfriend. Oh, it gets better. He was also earlier convicted of a previous DUI and in the country illegally. What the hell is this man still doing in our country? We have a dead officer, a dead man now. And I put his blood on this administration's hands, and I'm not going to back down from that. under the Trump administration, look, love him or hate him, these are the facts. I was there, I was on the front line. I still remember the day where he sent out a tweet. Right now it's called a post. So yeah, I'm keeping up. So he sent out a tweet. It said, hey, look, Mexico, if you don't step up and stop your BS about letting the illegal invasion come, I'm going to put some tariffs on you. It may hurt America, but it's going to destroy your GDP. All of a sudden, Mexico's like, Mr. President, what can we do? Right? That's true. When I was there, I watched that metamorphosis happen. I watched as 25,000 Mexican personnel worked every single day to secure their southern border with Guatemala, increase their interior enforcement, and work with us for shared patrol on our shared border. 25,000 personnel in Mexico. I saw it with my own two eyes. If you look, the top part, and you go down to the lowest part right there, that's where we were at the Trump administration, right? All that network of tools, stories, and policies that I told you about, we achieved an 85% reduction in the flow of illegal immigration, which meant more resources were back on the front line to stop criminals, drugs, and national security threats from coming in. And what did the Biden administration do? On day one, they got rid of every single one of those that I just mentioned. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. I could go on for another 2 hours about talking about those 93 executive orders where they dismantled everything. And one of the big lies they love to tell you, oh, but wait a minute, that's not our fault. That's not our fault. You see, we inherited a broken system, right? Well, think about this. There's two very important things. On day one of the Biden-Harris administration, guess what they had the same level of? Resources that we had. And guess what they inherited? The same broken laws and loopholes that we had. But yet, with that network of tools and authorities that we developed within the law, we achieved an 85% reduction. So it's BS when they claim a broken system. It'd be like you got an old Ford Pinto, right? And it's leaking oil, the windows don't work that great, there's a whole list of things wrong with it, but you're working around it, and you're fixing it, and the Pinto's still going. And then one day you just push it off a cliff, and it just blows up. And you say, see, we inherited a broken system. No, you freaking destroyed it. It wasn't perfect, and we were trying to get it better, but we were doing things to work with that to still make it work. That's what we were doing, and they literally pushed that network of tools, stories, and policies off a cliff that created this chaos and lawlessness. And the results, what you're looking at to the right, 3.5 years, 10.6 million total nationwide encounters. That's a 283% increase from the Trump administration, plus another 2 million known gotaways. That's a 261% increase from the Trump administration. Combine that in 3.5 years, you're looking at close to 13 million total nationwide encounters and gotaways. That makes it equivalent to the 5th most populated state in this country, just under the state of New York. There is no state, there's no country on the face of the planet that can sustain that. We've literally added the equivalent of the 51st state of gotaways into this country. Why do these numbers matter? Let me talk about 3 things: national security, drugs, and criminals. First of all, national security threats. A couple months ago, we apprehended a single adult Lebanese male that came into our country. We apprehended him. During an interview, he admitted he was part of Hezbollah, and he was going to go to New York and make a bomb and kill people. An Iraqi citizen who, by the way, found out later was a former gun runner of Al-Qaeda. He came here on a visitor's visa, then later in 21 applied for asylum. By 2022, FBI had arrested him because he was trying to bring in additional Iraqi citizens to go and assassinate former President Bush. Director Wray has said multiple times that prior to the atrocities and attacks on Israel on October 7th, that he had seen a heightened increase in terrorism directed towards the homeland. But afterwards, it's come to a whole new level. That he says, quote, I see blinking red lights every single day. That ISIS-K is working towards a coordinated attack against our homeland. DHS's own report this year says that criminals and terrorist organizations are taking advantage and exploiting the increased flow of illegal aliens across our borders. The past 4 years, Border Patrol alone has apprehended almost 400 illegal aliens on the FBI terror screening database. To put that in perspective, under the Trump administration, 14. If you add in the number of illegal aliens come to our ports of entry, add in another 1,200. So you're looking at almost 1,600 illegal aliens on the terror watch list have tried to sneak in to our country. And I haven't even told you about special interest aliens. You know what those are? Special interest aliens are aliens that come from countries that we know sponsor, harbor, and facilitate terrorism. In the last 3.5 years, we have encountered hundreds of thousands of them from Iraq, Pakistan, Syria, Egypt. The list goes on and on and on. So my comment to you, ladies and gentlemen, is it's not if or when a national security threat comes to our border. We know they're already coming. The issue that we should be concerned about and talking about is they're already here. Because remember the 2 million known gotaways? Yeah, we could easily have a terror sleeper cell already in the country planning the next terrorist attack, and we would have no idea. Criminals. Director Wray also has said that a, quote, wide array of very dangerous threats are emanating from the southwest border. It wasn't that long ago where a Colombian national single adult male, we encountered them, released him in the United States, and then found out later he's wanted for 4 murders in his home country. A Haitian single adult male was apprehended after he had raped a 15-year-old disabled girl who came in under the CBP-1 app and was unlawfully paroled into this country. Remember Pennsylvania? It was in 2023, the Pennsylvania fugitive. We had a nationwide manhunt. He'd killed an American woman here in the country, then escaped. We caught him. Well, guess why he came to the United States? Because he was escaping Brazil because he wanted for murder in Brazil. I already told you about Lake and Riley, Rachel Morin. What about the Jocelyn, the 14-year-old, who was raped by 2 illegal aliens, hung over the bridge, naked from the waist down? Or the 2 13-year-old boy and girl who an illegal alien in New York found them, tied them together, brutally raped the 13-year-old while the 13-year-old friend watched? Oh yeah, he videotaped it, so he'd have a trophy. Every single day, all day long, that's happening. How do I know that? Well, let me give you some more stats. In the first 3 years of this administration, ICE arrested 163,000 criminal illegal aliens, including over 4,000 murderers, 3,000 kidnapping charges, and 73,000 assault charges. And those are low numbers for ICE. United States Border Patrol in the last 3.5 years, they've encountered over 71,000 criminals, including murderers, rapists, pedophiles, aggravated felons, gang members. If you add in the number of criminals coming to our ports of entry, tack on another 100,000. 180,000 criminals, hardcore, many of them violent animals, have tried to enter our country. DPS, from 2011 to 2024, DPS has arrested over 300,000 illegal aliens and charged them with over 540,000 crimes, including 1,000 homicides, 1,200 kidnappings, and over 70,000 assaults. Those are all statistical data that the government provides. Go to texasdps.gov, you get that stat. Go to ICE, you can get their stats. Go to CBP, you can get the stats. These aren't Mark Morgan stats. They're uncontroversial. They're fact. So don't tell me the Cato Institute will say, well, here's what we hear all the time. Well, but illegal aliens commit fewer crimes than Americans. First of all, it's just BS. I'll get that in a second. But wait a minute. That's our litmus test? Because illegal aliens kill fewer Americans than Americans, somehow then it's okay? That's stupid. That's ignorant. But we're buying it. I just gave you all the statistics and the numbers that are unconscionable. But I promise you, too, the Cato Institute, their analysis lacks basic analytical rigor, and it's just not true. Besides, that shouldn't be our litmus test. Look at TDA, right? The Venezuela gang. I worked at MS-13 was an FBI special agent. I'm telling you right now, we're not only have we turned a blind eye to our Constitution to secure, protect, and defend our borders, we're turning a blind eye to history. Because we did the same thing in MS-13. I was there on the front lines in early 2000. I watched the most violent, prolific transnational gang take root in this United States and spread across our country like a spider web. And 2.5 decades later, they are still terrorizing every single major metropolitan city in our country. And we are literally today, through TDA, the Venezuela gang, watching MS-13 2.0 take root in our country. And when's the last time you heard Vice President Harris or Biden talk about it? You haven't. Hell, we even, sorry, Bobby told me I was not supposed to cuss, sorry. She's not here, God bless, she's got her back, so. Sorry. So we even have an organization called AVIAC, American Victims Victims of Illegal Alien Crime. We have an organization because so many Americans have been victims of illegal alien crime. Just last night, Representative Tony Gonzalez in Texas had sent out a request to ICE asking for some more data about the amount and types of crimes that have been committed by illegal aliens. And it just came through the wire last night. It's just making the headlines right now. I just want to give you a couple of data points on that. It came through. This is just from ICE. Right now, there is over 640,000 criminal illegal aliens on the non-detained docket. You know what non-detained means? They're loose. They're roaming around in every town, city, and state in this country. 640,000 criminals. Wait for it, including 15,000 murderers. 15,000. 13,000 of them are convicted murderers. The other 2,000, just been charged. No big deal. Go ahead and release them. Think about that. So we know we're encountering criminals, we're releasing criminals, and we're apprehending criminals. This is insanity. I defy anybody, regardless of what your ideology or political affiliation is, you're going to tell me, someone's going to tell me that it's okay to release a convicted murderer in our country? Or if you're a sanctuary city, you know someone's in the country illegally, has no legal status, you charge them with murder, and you're not going to work with ICE? You're going to refuse to let ICE come and get that individual? You would rather release someone back into city streets that you just charged with murder rather than work with ICE. Well, guess what? That's what this administration is doing. And that's not BS, it's a fact. Look, we haven't even talked about the 50, 60,000 Chinese nationals they're going to come across. Remember, Director Wray in the greater intelligence community says, quote, China represents the threat of our generation. Every day they're involved in a multi-pronged attack against every aspect of our economic and national security. Yet we have allowed 60,000 Chinese nationals, mostly single adult males, into our country. Oh, and guess what? There's a law that we have that says if within 180 days there's no reasonable expectation that an illegal alien will be returned to their country, guess what we have to do? Release them. Guess what China refuses to do? Take back their folks. Guess what China also has a law that says any Chinese national anywhere in the world, when called upon, you shall, you must act as an intelligence operator for the CCP. What are we doing? This is stupid. And, okay, drugs. Last year, 108,000 Americans died from drugs or fentanyl poison. Leading cause of death in this country, 18 to 45-year-olds, drugs, and we know that 95% of all drugs come from the southwest border. What are we doing? It's just stupid. It makes no sense. And we know every single day that what the Border Patrol has been transformed. They're no longer doing their law enforcement and national security mission. They've been pulled off the line, and they've been transformed to a processing enterprise. They're back for the past 3.5 years. They've been in facilities acting as a federal travel agency. Here's how it works real quick. Zones A, B, and C. The cartels will flood Zone B with a whole bunch of illegal aliens. The Border Patrol is going to go down there to catch criminals and provide humanitarian relief that's needed, leaving Zone A and C wide open, drugs, criminals, national security threats. It literally is that easy. And that's happening every single day. I'll end with this. There's a couple of significant lies. There's not enough to talk about them all, but here's one of the big ones, right? And I'm sure you've heard this. Don't worry. Of all the 10.5 million encounters and the 2 million known gotaways, guys, don't listen to Mark, right? Come on, I'm just being hyperbolic. Because I promise you, here's the promise, right? I know you've heard this, is that we properly vet them to ensure they don't pose a threat before we release them in the United States, right? How many of us have heard that? Well, you've been lied to. right? It doesn't happen. It never will happen. 180 different countries. A significant number of those countries we have no diplomatic relationships with. So think about this. If you're from Haiti, Cuba, Nicaragua, do you think we're getting the criminal history from those single adult males before we're released in the United States? No. No, it's not happening. They're literally lying to you. The only database that we have is we run it against NCIC check to see if they've committed a crime in the United States. Well, if they've never been here, they're not going to show up. But like the Colombian man, he could have been a mass murderer from their home country, and we do not know. But we're releasing the United States anyway. Lebanon, if you're an SIA, if you don't show up on the terror watch list, it means we don't have any derogatory information, but you're a special interest alien, because let's say you came from Lebanon. Guys, again, don't worry. I'm being hyperbolic, right? Don't trust me here, because it's no problem. Here's what happens. We encounter a single adult male from Lebanon of military age. We just say, hey, no problem. Hey, Lebanese government? Hey, before we release this individual in the United States, we just want to make sure, can you confirm he's not a member of Hezbollah? Oh, no, he's good. Okay, thank you. Go ahead, come on in. No, it doesn't happen, right? That's not reality. But yet that single adult Lebanese man, because he doesn't show up on any of our intelligence database, guess what? We release him in the United States. Folks, I'm telling you, that's absurd. We do not have the capacity. And even those countries that we have diplomatic relationships with, oftentimes their data systems are archaic, they're worthless, and so we're getting incomplete data. But we're releasing those individuals into our country anyway. The other big lie, I know you've heard for the past 4 months only, 4 months, because these numbers show, how many of the numbers are going down, right? Numbers are going down. Nothing to see here. Don't worry about that. We're past that, just because we have probably over 1 million criminals in our country. We have sleeper cells planning the next terrorist attack. We have so many drugs in our country to kill every single American 1,000 times over. Don't worry about that chaos that's already in the country, because the last 4 months, the numbers are going down. So all's good. Well, here's the big lie. The numbers are not going down. They simply playing a shell game. They've diverted the numbers, right? So, and they're doing it by 2 ways. One, CBP One app. I'm sure most of you heard about that. So you can get on the computer, fill out a couple of lines, assisted by the cartels or NGOs, doesn't matter, right? And they're actually going to allow you to come to a port of entry, right? And then, almost done. And so then, it's a good point. And so then the unlawful use of parole, right? So they're allowed, if you come from 4 countries, Cuba, Venezuela, Nicaragua, and Haiti, we're going to allow you to fly into one of 45 airports. So all they've done is they transferred those that were previously illegally entering through the back door, and they've now allowed them to come in through the front door. And they've called that a lawful pathway, and it's not. Give an example. OFO, last year, Trump administration, they processed and encountered 241,000. Last year, it was 1.1 million. This year, it's going to be 1.3 million. Numbers aren't going down. It's a shell game. They're lying. Okay, real quick. Sorry, I lied. One last thing. Sorry. Just one last thing. So this is big, though, because they're talking about the bipartisan bill, right? It's a lie. First of all, only 4 Republicans voted for it. You can't call it bipartisan when only 4 Republicans got snookered, and actually more Democrats voted against it. And it's not a meaningful border security bill. It's a lie. It's a joke. It would have codified illegal immigration. It didn't end catch and release. It wouldn't have satisfied the loopholes or fixed any of the issues that we have in our lawful immigration system. What did, though, was H.R. 2. I just spent a couple of minutes looking it up. It was passed last March by the House. It goes over to the Senate. Schumer killed it. Vice President Harris and President Biden said they would have killed it. That was actually that provided a meaningful policy pathway forward that would have fixed this. It's the Democrats that killed it. So they want to talk about a bill. It was H.R. 2. What they're talking about now is a joke. And the last thing that I'll say is thank you for being here. I appreciate it. But here's one thing I'm going to put out to you. What are you going to do tomorrow? Seriously. What are you going to do tomorrow? Who are you going to talk to? Who are you going to talk to the next day and the next day? To tell them that what they're hearing is a lie, to give them this information that says no country in the face of the planet can sustain the chaos and lawlessness that we're having at the border. We need these grassroots efforts. So thank you very much.